Let's talk about one of the most powerful principles Jim Rohn ever taught: the idea that wealth doesn't begin with money. It begins with value. Most people spend their entire lives chasing income, never realizing that income is merely a reflection of the value they've created for others. It's not your paycheck that determines your financial future. It's what you become in the process of earning it. Jim used to say, if you want to be wealthy, learn to create value. The market pays for value. And he was right. See, most people work for wages, but the wealthy work for growth. The poor and middle class often think, if I could just get paid more, I'd be fine. But Jim flipped that thinking completely. He said, don't wish for more money, wish to become more valuable. Because the marketplace rewards value, not time. If you spend 8 hours a day doing something anyone else can do, then your reward will always be limited. But if you spend those same 8 hours doing something that very few can do, something that requires skill, insight, and excellence, your reward will expand accordingly. The world doesn't pay for time, it pays for difference. So how do you increase your value? You work harder on yourself than you do on your job. That was one of Jim's favorite lessons. The more you grow personally, the more valuable you become professionally. You study, you observe, you practice. You refine your craft until what you do becomes extraordinary. Think about it. What's the difference between a $1.50 haircut and a $500 haircut? 10 years of discipline, training, and self-improvement. That's the secret to wealth. You get paid for the difference, not the similarity. And here's where the psychology of it comes in. Value isn't just about skill. It's about attitude. The right attitude turns ordinary work into extraordinary contribution. When you approach your job, your business, or your art with passion, precision, and pride, you elevate its worth automatically. Jim used to remind people, work hard at your job and you'll make a living. Work hard on yourself and you'll make a fortune. The person who grows earns. The person who coasts fades, because money follows value and value follows growth. Now, most people stop growing once they get comfortable. They reach a certain level, start earning a steady income, and then think, that's good enough. But comfort is the enemy of value. The moment you stop challenging yourself, you begin to decline. The marketplace is constantly evolving. Technology changes, industries shift, and opportunities move. If you don't grow, you get left behind. Wealthy people understand this. They're lifelong learners. They read books, attend seminars, listen to mentors. They stay sharp because they know stagnation kills progress. Here's another layer Jim emphasized. Becoming valuable doesn't just mean being skilled. It means being useful. The question you should ask yourself every day isn't, how can I make more money? But how can I serve better? The more people you help, the more wealth you attract. Service is the seed, and money is the harvest. Whether you're a teacher, an artist, an entrepreneur, or an employee, your ability to improve someone else's life determines your income potential. That's the moral and economic law of value. Jim also talked about something profound, the link between self-worth and net worth. You can't outperform your self-image. If you secretly believe you don't deserve more, you'll unconsciously sabotage opportunities. That's why personal development isn't just about skills, it's about belief. The moment you start believing you're capable of more, you start behaving like someone who is. And once your behavior shifts, your results follow. Wealth begins in the mind long before it shows up in the bank. And let's not forget integrity. Real value is built on trust. You can have the best product, the sharpest skill, or the smartest mind, but if people don't trust you, it's over. Jim used to say, character is the foundation of all achievement. Wealth that's built on manipulation or deceit never lasts. But when your value is built on honesty, consistency, and service, your wealth becomes sustainable. People remember how you make them feel, and that feeling determines whether they return, refer, or resist. So, don't just chase a raise, chase refinement. Don't just seek profit. Seek progress. Every day ask yourself, am I becoming more valuable to my family, my business, my community, and myself? Because when you do, the money will follow. It has to. It's the law of value. Remember, wealth is not pursued. It is attracted. And it's attracted by the person you become. Become more, and you'll have more. It's that simple. Closing line, when you make yourself more valuable than your paycheck will have no choice but to rise to meet your value. Discipline, it's not the most exciting word, but it's the foundation of every dream that's ever been built. Jim Rohn called it the bridge between goals and accomplishment. And he was right. You can have ambition, vision, and intelligence, but without discipline, all of it fades into wishful thinking. Discipline is the quiet strength that turns intention into reality. It's the daily commitment to do what's necessary, not just what's convenient. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack consistency. They start strong, full of energy and excitement, but the moment it gets uncomfortable, they stop. Jim used to say, we must all suffer one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The first weighs ounces, the second weighs tons. The difference between the successful and the unsuccessful is not opportunity. It's routine. The successful have learned how to do the hard things even when they don't feel like it. Discipline is a form of self-respect. It's saying, I value my future enough to act accordingly today. You wake up when you said you would. You save when you said you would. You learn when you said you would, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Discipline gives structure to your goals. Without it, you drift, and drifting is dangerous. It gives the illusion of movement without direction. Jim often described success as a few simple disciplines practiced every day. That's it. Nothing dramatic, nothing magical. Just consistency. Read a few pages daily. Save a small percentage of your income. Exercise for a short time. Plan your week. Review your goals. Over time, these simple acts create extraordinary results because discipline compounds. Each act of discipline strengthens your character, sharpens your focus, and builds momentum. Think of it like planting seeds. Every disciplined act is a seed in the soil of your potential. You may not see results today or tomorrow, but if you keep planting, watering, and tending, eventually, the harvest will come. The undisciplined person digs up their seeds too early, frustrated that they haven't sprouted yet. The disciplined person trusts the process. They know that time rewards patience and consistency. Here's the psychological side of it. Discipline creates confidence. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your self-image improves. You start to believe in your own word. You trust yourself, and that self-trust becomes power. Most people think confidence comes from results. It doesn't. Confidence comes from discipline. When you know you can rely on yourself to do what's right, no matter how you feel, you move through life with quiet strength. Jim Rohn was a master at connecting discipline with freedom. He said, discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. The irony is that most people avoid discipline because they think it's restrictive. They think structure will trap them. But the truth is, discipline * liberates * you. It gives you control over your time, your habits, and your destiny. Without discipline, you live reactively, pulled by distractions, emotions, and circumstances. With discipline, you live intentionally, guided by choice, purpose, and principle. Discipline also reshapes how you handle failure. When you're disciplined, failure doesn't discourage you. It educates you. You view it as feedback, not finality. You adjust, improve, and try again. That mindset transforms setbacks into stepping stones. The undisciplined person quits when it's hard. The disciplined person adapts. And that's why they win. Jim's philosophy was clear. You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. Asterisk, that's what discipline does. It changes direction. One good decision today begins to rewrite your financial, physical, and emotional destiny. You don't need to overhaul your entire life. You just need to start with one disciplined choice. Wake up on time, read instead of scrolling, save instead of spending, exercise instead of postponing. Every small act of discipline carries the seed of transformation. Now, let's talk about the emotional component. Discipline doesn't mean suppressing emotion. It means mastering it. Everyone feels tired, lazy, or discouraged at times. Discipline isn't about avoiding those feelings. It's about acting asterisk in spite asterisk of them. It's emotional maturity in motion. When you can move forward regardless of how you feel, you've unlocked one of the greatest strengths a person can possess. There's also a spiritual depth to discipline. It's a form of alignment between what you say you want and what you actually do. When your actions match your values, you experience peace. When they don't, you experience tension. Discipline resolves that inner conflict. It turns intention into integrity. So if you want to build wealth, health, or happiness, don't look for shortcuts. Look for structure, build routines that serve you. Schedule your priorities instead of prioritizing your schedule. Protect your habits the way you protect your money, because habits asterisk are asterisk wealth. They either compound for you or against you. Jim Rohn often reminded us, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. It's not dramatic, it's not glamorous, but it's powerful beyond measure. The disciplined life may seem demanding at first, but soon it becomes natural. It becomes who you are. And when discipline becomes identity, success becomes inevitable. Discipline is the silent architect of your destiny. Build with it daily, and your future will rise to meet you. Let's talk about one of Jim Rohn's most practical and timeless lessons, the 70/30 rule. He used to say, asterisk, it's not the amount that counts, it's the plan. Asterisk, because without a plan for your money, it will always find a way to escape you. The 70/30 rule is simple to understand, but life-changing to apply. It's the foundation of financial independence, no matter how much you earn or how old you are. Jim broke it down like this: live on 70% of what you earn. The remaining 30%, you divide it into 3 equal parts: 10% for charity, 10% for active investing, and 10% for savings or emergencies. It's not a complex formula. It's a disciplined philosophy of money management that turns chaos into clarity. It teaches you that wealth is not about income, it's about control. Now, most people fail financially not because they don't make enough, but because they don't control what they make. The undisciplined spender lives in a constant cycle of earning and consuming, with nothing left to show for it at the end of the month. Jim used to say, asterisk, if you can't manage your money when you earn a little, you won't manage it when you earn a lot. Asterisk, wealth is a behavior, not a bank balance. The first 70%, that's for living. It covers your lifestyle, your bills, your food, your rent. But here's the key. Your lifestyle must always remain slightly below your income, not equal to it. The great financial tragedy of our time is lifestyle inflation. People earn more and instantly upgrade their spending to match it. A raise should never mean a new car. It should mean new opportunity. When you discipline yourself to live below your means, you create breathing space, and in that space, freedom grows. The next 10% is for giving. Yes, giving before saving, before investing. Jim Rohn was deeply philosophical about this. He believed that giving was a spiritual test of worthiness. Asterisk, if you can't give a dime out of $1. Asterisk, he'd say, asterisk, you won't give 100,000 out of 1,000,000. Asterisk, giving trains your heart to detach from greed and to think in terms of abundance. It creates circulation. What you give, you often receive multiplied, not always in cash, but in opportunities, relationships, and peace of mind. The act of generosity is not loss, it's leverage. Then comes the next 10%, your investment fund. This is where you learn to make money work for you. Most people work for money their whole lives because they never learn how to make money work for them. That 10% is the seed of your future wealth. You use it to build assets, businesses, stocks, real estate, or any vehicle that generates income without your constant effort. Jim's philosophy was that financial independence begins when your money starts to earn while you sleep. But you can't get there without planting that 10% consistently. Even if it starts small, a few dollars a week, the habit matters more than the amount. The last 10% is your savings, your protection fund. This is not for investment. It's for emergencies, opportunities, and stability. It's the safety net that prevents you from falling backward when life throws challenges your way. Jim Rohn often said, "The best time to fix the roof is when the sun is shining." Savings give you confidence. They give you time. They give you the ability to make wise decisions instead of desperate ones. Most people are forced into poor choices because they have no cushion. Saving 10% isn't about hoarding. It's about securing peace of mind. Now, the brilliance of the 70/30 rule is not in its math, but in its mindset. It creates awareness. It forces you to face the truth about where your money goes and why. It gives you the structure to take control of your financial future. And here's the truth. You can start this at any income level. Jim taught this principle to people who made $500 a month and to people who made $50 a month. The discipline matters more than the digits, because the moment you start telling your money where to go, instead of wondering where it went, your relationship with wealth changes forever. This rule also teaches patience. In a world addicted to instant gratification, the 70/30 rule reminds us that wealth is built slowly, not suddenly. It grows like a tree, little by little, day by day, rooted in consistent behavior. Every time you apply this rule, you're strengthening your financial roots. The storms may come, layoffs, medical bills, market crashes, but your tree stands because it was planted on principle, not impulse. And let's not forget the deeper psychology behind it. The way you handle money reflects the way you handle life. Order creates freedom, chaos creates fear. When you live by design, not by default, you gain something money alone can't buy: peace of mind. Jim used to say, "It's not the money that makes you rich, it's the plan that does." So, whether you're 20 or 60, whether you're just starting out or rebuilding, start today. Take control of that first dollar, and the rest will follow. Don't wait for a perfect income to start managing money perfectly. Start managing now, and the income will grow to meet your discipline. Because in the end, wealth isn't about luck, inheritance, or opportunity. It's about principle. And the 70/30 rule is one of the simplest, strongest, and most powerful principles of all. If you can learn to master your money, even in small amounts, you'll soon discover that true wealth was never about what you earn. It was always about how you manage what you have. Jim Rohn used to say, "Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune." And that single statement captures one of the greatest secrets to wealth: learning the language of money. Most people are fluent in their native tongue, but financially illiterate in the language that governs every decision they make. They work hard, they earn, they spend, but they don't understand the rules of the game. And when you don't understand the rules, you can't win. Financial education isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about awareness, mindset, and mastery. Money moves according to principles, not emotions. Those who know the principles control the flow. Those who don't are controlled by it. Jim Rohn often reminded people that money is a tool, and like any tool, it can build or destroy, depending on who's holding it. The same hammer that builds a house can break a window. It's not the hammer, it's the hand. The same is true for money. Most people think financial success is about working harder, but it's really about thinking smarter. You can't save your way to wealth with poor understanding, and you can't invest your way to freedom with blind guessing. You have to learn. You have to study how money behaves, how it grows, how it moves, and how it hides. Because money has a personality. It goes where it's respected and stays where it's managed. If you ignore it, it leaves you. If you master it, it serves you. Jim encouraged everyone to study wealth the way a doctor studies medicine or an artist studies form. Read the books, listen to the experts, observe what successful people do differently, learn the difference between assets and liabilities, between consumption and investment. Too many people confuse activity with achievement. They're busy but not productive. They earn, but they don't grow. Financial literacy gives you clarity. It helps you see where your money is going, why it's going there, and how to make it return with friends. But the language of money isn't just about accounting and numbers. It's about psychology. It's about understanding your own behavior around money. Why do you spend when you're stressed? Why do you save when you're scared? Why do you chase trends instead of principles? Until you master your emotions, you'll never master your finances. Jim taught that financial intelligence starts with emotional intelligence. The way you feel about money will always dictate the way you use it. If you see it as scarce, you'll hoard it. If you see it as abundant, you'll attract it. The wealthy understand this intuitively. They don't fear money, they respect it. They don't worship it, they use it. They know that money is a magnifier. It amplifies whoever you already are. If you're generous, wealth makes you more generous. If you're careless, wealth makes you more reckless. That's why education comes first. It shapes who you become. Before you multiply what you have. Without it, wealth becomes a burden instead of a blessing. Jim Rohn was also a student of observation. He studied the habits of successful people and noticed patterns they read daily. They tracked their expenses. They talked about ideas, not just prices. They had mentors. They sought advice. They weren't ashamed to admit what they didn't know. In contrast, those who struggled with money often avoided it. They ignored their bank statements, lived on credit, and hoped for luck instead of building a plan. Luck is not a strategy, learning is. There's another important point here. Financial education never ends. The world changes, economies shift, opportunities evolve, the rules of money aren't static. The people who stay wealthy are those who stay curious. They adapt, they keep learning. Jim used to say, income seldom exceeds personal development. In other words, you will never consistently earn beyond your level of understanding. Your income grows only as fast as you do. So, study money like your future depends on it, because it does. Read about compound interest, inflation, and taxation. Learn how investments grow and how debts destroy. Understand that assets are things that put money in your pocket, and liabilities are things that take it out. Know that wealth is built on cash flow, not consumerism. The more fluent you become in this language, the less power money has over you, and the more power you have to use it wisely. And don't just study for knowledge, study for wisdom. There's a difference. Knowledge tells you how to make money. Wisdom tells you how to keep it, grow it, and use it with purpose. True wealth isn't just measured by the size of your bank account, but by your ability to create options, to help others, to live without fear. Financial literacy gives you that freedom, the freedom to choose, to give, to live on your terms. Jim Rohn's message was never just about getting rich. It was about becoming smart. When you learn how money really works, you stop being a slave to circumstance and become the author of your destiny. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop waiting for opportunity and start building it. Because in the end, wealth isn't something you chase. It's something you attract through understanding. When you learn the language of money, you stop working for it and it starts working for you. Jim Rohn once said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. It's a simple statement with profound implications. especially when it comes to wealth and personal growth. If you want to become successful, you must surround yourself with successful minds. If you want to become wise, you must associate with wisdom. And if you want to become wealthy, not just in money, but in mindset, you must align your life with people who live by principles of growth, discipline, and excellence. Association is one of the invisible forces shaping your destiny. You don't even notice it happening. The conversations you hear, the attitudes you absorb, the standards you adopt, they all seep into your thinking like dye in water. Spend enough time with people who complain, and soon you'll complain. Spend time with people who invest, plan, and grow, and soon you'll start doing the same. Jim Rohn used to remind his audience that attitudes are contagious. Make sure you catch the right ones. Most people underestimate just how powerful their environment is. They think success is purely about willpower. But willpower is fragile in a toxic environment. You can have the best goals in the world, but if you're surrounded by negativity, you'll struggle to stay motivated. The energy of your associations will either fuel you or drain you. And wealth, real, lasting wealth, demands energy, optimism, and clarity. This doesn't mean you should judge or abandon people. Jim never suggested arrogance or isolation. What he taught was discernment. There are 3 types of associations in life. The ones you spend a lot of time with the ones you spend some time with and the ones you spend little time with. The key is to evaluate your circle and ask, who is influencing my thoughts, my habits, and my standards? If someone constantly brings you down, questions your dreams, or encourages bad habits, it's time to redefine that connection. Not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Wealthy people understand that association is leverage. They choose to spend time with mentors, thinkers, and achievers because they know proximity creates perspective. When you're around people who think big, your own thinking expands. When you're around people who are constantly improving, mediocrity becomes uncomfortable. Growth becomes normal. That's why mentorship is so powerful. It compresses time. A good mentor doesn't just teach you what to do. They help you avoid what not to do. Jim Rohn himself often shared that his life changed when he met his mentor, Earl Schoaf. Before that, he was a struggling 20, something working hard but going nowhere. Schoaf didn't just teach him about money. He taught him about philosophy, about becoming the kind of person success is attracted to. In just a few short years under the right influence, Jim Rohn transformed from broke to prosperous, from uncertain to inspired. That's the power of the right association. Now, there's another dimension to this. Association isn't only about people you know personally. In today's world, your influences also come through books, podcasts, videos, and media. You might not have a millionaire in your neighborhood, but you can learn from one every day through their work. Jim used to say, poor people have big TV, rich people have big libraries. He wasn't just talking about books, he was talking about priorities. What you consume shapes what you become. If you spend your evenings watching entertainment that numbs you, you'll stay numb. If you spend your evenings learning about leadership, investing, and personal development, you'll rise. Your mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant grows. And your associations are the seeds. That's why it's crucial to protect your mental environment. You can't surround yourself with limitation and expect expansion. The psychology behind this is powerful. Human beings are social creatures. We mirror what we see. Our behaviors, beliefs, and even levels of ambition are influenced by our surroundings. If your circle normalizes overspending, debt, and complaining, that becomes your standard. But if your circle normalizes saving, investing, reading, and planning, that too becomes your standard. Wealth begins to feel natural when it's part of the culture you're immersed in. Jim also encouraged people to become the right kind of association for others. It's not enough to just seek good influences, you must strive to be one. Be the person in your circle who lifts others, who thinks positively, who sets an example of growth. Because the truth is, people mirror you too, and when you raise your standard, you give permission for others to rise with you. Here's the thing, you can't change your entire environment overnight, but you can begin today by adjusting your inputs. Choose who you listen to, choose what you watch, choose who you let influence your energy. The wealthy are intentional about their associations. They curate them the way an investor curates assets. Because people are the greatest investment of all, surround yourself with people who remind you of your potential, not your limitations. People who talk about ideas, not gossip. People who challenge you, not coddle you. That's the environment where greatness grows. And when your associations elevate, your results follow naturally. Jim Rohn's message was simple but timeless. You don't need to be lucky, gifted, or born into wealth. You just need to choose your company wisely, because your environment is your future, and every conversation is a brick in the foundation of your destiny. Choose your associations as carefully as you choose your investments, because both will determine the kind of wealth you build and the kind of person you become. Jim Rohn often warned that one of the greatest financial risks in life is depending on a single source of income. He said, never rely on one income, make investments to create a second. This principle isn't just about money, it's about mindset. It's about taking control of your financial destiny instead of letting circumstances dictate it. Because the truth is, even the most stable job can vanish, and the most reliable business can change overnight. Wealth isn't about having security. It's about creating it through multiple streams of income. Now, let's understand this from the ground up. Most people live in what Jim called the wage trap. They trade hours for dollars, one paycheck, one employer, one source. And as long as that single stream flows, life feels manageable. But when it stops through layoffs, illness, or economic downturn, the entire structure collapses. That's not freedom, that's fragility. Real financial independence comes when you have several streams flowing, each supporting and strengthening the other. Jim often compared income to a river system. A small river might dry up in a drought, but a network of rivers, fed by rain, streams, and underground springs, keeps flowing no matter what. That's what multiple income streams do for you. They give you resilience. If one slows down, another keeps you afloat. You're not at the mercy of one employer, one market, or one opportunity. You've built a financial ecosystem that supports itself. But this idea isn't about greed or chasing endless side hustles. It's about building stability through intelligent design. Jim Rohn's approach was strategic. First, you master one source, your main career or business, and make it profitable. Then you take the surplus and invest it into other opportunities that create passive or semi-passive income. That's how you build financial depth. You don't scatter your focus, you multiply your efforts. For example, your job can provide your foundation, but your investments can provide your future. Maybe you start small, putting part of your income into dividend stocks, mutual funds, or a small business venture. Over time, those investments begin to generate returns, and those returns become another stream. Add rental income, digital products, online education, or consulting, and soon your wealth has roots in different directions. Each root makes the tree stronger. Jim believed this principle wasn't just for the wealthy, it was how they became wealthy. Most millionaires don't have one income, they have several, and each stream reinforces the others. One may provide steady cash flow, another long-term growth, another creative fulfillment. Together, they form a web of independence that no single event can destroy. There's also a psychological side to this. When you have multiple streams, your relationship with money changes. You stop feeling desperate. You stop fearing loss. You begin to operate from confidence instead of anxiety. You make better decisions because your survival doesn't depend on any one source. And when you're free from fear, you can think bigger, act smarter, and take calculated risks that lead to even greater rewards. Jim Rohn's philosophy always tied back to personal development. He'd say, "You don't get paid by the hour, you get paid for the value you bring to the hour." The same goes for income streams. The person you become, the skills you learn, the habits you build, the mindset you develop, determines how many opportunities you can create. If you invest in yourself, you'll never run out of ways to earn. Your creativity becomes your greatest asset. Multiple income streams also teach discipline and patience. At first, building them can feel slow. You may start a small business that takes months to profit or invest in something that compounds over years. But that's the beauty of it. It forces you to think long term. Jim often said, "The rich invest their money and spend what's left. The poor spend their money and invest what's left." By developing multiple sources of income, you naturally shift into the mindset of an investor, not just a consumer. And remember, not all streams have to be massive. One might bring in a few $100s a month, another a few thousand. What matters is that they exist. Each stream adds a layer of protection between you and uncertainty. Over time, those small flows can merge into a river of abundance. That's how financial freedom is built, not overnight, but consistently, intelligently, and deliberately. Jim also emphasized that your streams should align with your values and strengths. Don't chase every opportunity that glitters. Focus on what you understand and what resonates with your purpose. If you're passionate about teaching, create courses. If you're skilled in business, invest in startups. If you love real estate, build there. The goal isn't to create chaos. It's to create synergy, a balanced network of income that supports both your lifestyle and your mission. The lesson here is timeless. Depending on one paycheck is gambling. Building multiple streams is strategy. One path gives you anxiety, the other gives you autonomy. Wealthy people think in terms of systems, not salaries. They don't ask, "How can I earn more?" They ask, "How can I create something that earns for me?" And that's the shift Jim Rohn wanted everyone to make, from being an earner to being a builder. Because when you build systems, investments, and opportunities that produce ongoing income, you no longer live at the mercy of circumstance. You become free to live by design. Don't wait for one source to fail before you build another. Start creating multiple streams today, and let each one carry you closer to true financial freedom. Jim Rohn often said, "Giving is better than receiving, because giving starts the receiving process." And that statement holds the essence of his final and perhaps most profound money rule, the law of generosity. It's the principle that says true wealth doesn't come from what you get. It comes from what you give. It's not just a financial principle. It's a spiritual one. Because when you give, you open yourself up to growth, opportunity, and abundance in ways that numbers alone could never explain. Now, generosity is one of those concepts people misunderstand. Some think it's only for the wealthy, as if giving is something you do after you become rich. But Jim flipped that completely. He believed that giving is what creates wealth, not what follows it. If you're not generous when you're broke. He said, you won't be generous when you're rich. Because generosity is not about the amount, it's about the heart. It's an attitude of abundance that says, I already have enough, and I can share. That's what separates the truly wealthy from the merely rich. Rich people accumulate, wealthy people circulate. The difference is flow. Money, like water, must move to stay alive. When it flows through giving, it nourishes both the giver and the receiver. But when it's hoarded out of fear or greed, it stagnates. Generosity keeps your financial life and your emotional life flowing. It breaks the grip of scarcity. It trains you to see abundance everywhere, even when it's small. Jim Rohn believed deeply that giving activates a powerful law of reciprocity in the universe. He used to tell his audiences, the more you give, the more you have. Not because of superstition or luck, but because generosity changes the giver. It makes you a magnet for goodwill, trust, and opportunity. When you give to people, causes, or communities, you expand your circle of influence. You attract people who share your values. And often, those connections become the very channels through which prosperity returns. There's also a psychological depth here. Giving cultivates gratitude, and gratitude is the seed of abundance. When you give, you remind yourself that you already have something to offer. You stop focusing on what's missing and start appreciating what's present. That shift in awareness is powerful. People who live in gratitude make better decisions. They're calmer, more resourceful, and more confident because they operate from sufficiency, not scarcity. And from that state, wealth grows naturally. But generosity isn't only about money. It's about time, attention, kindness, and wisdom. You can give encouragement to a struggling friend, guidance to a young person, or comfort to someone in pain. These forms of giving cost nothing but create immense value. Jim Rohn often reminded his audience that a service to many leads to greatness. The more you serve, the more indispensable you become. The market rewards those who solve problems and uplift others. And that's what generosity does. In a practical sense, giving also sharpens your financial discipline. When you set aside a portion of your income to give, say, 10%, as Jim often suggested, it forces you to manage the rest more wisely. It teaches you to live with margin, not excess. You begin to budget, plan, and prioritize. Giving creates a sense of stewardship, the understanding that money flows through you, not just to you. You become a manager of blessing, not a prisoner of consumption. Now, some might say, but what if I give and get nothing in return? Jim would smile and say, you always get something, it just might not come in the same form. The law of generosity doesn't always repay in cash. Sometimes it repays in peace, relationships, ideas, or timing. The universe has its own accounting system, and it always balances the books. The return on giving might not be immediate, but it's inevitable. There's also a moral beauty to this principle. Generosity connects you to something larger than yourself. It shifts your focus from accumulation to contribution. It reminds you that money has purpose beyond survival. It's a tool to build, heal, and inspire. Jim often said that giving was his proof of prosperity. When I give, he'd say, I'm telling the universe I already have enough. That statement alone rewires your mindset. It's a declaration of abundance, faith, and confidence in life. Generosity also builds legacy. Long after your money is spent or your name fades, what remains is the impact you made. The people you helped, the lives you changed, the hope you gave, that's the real wealth. The greatest fortunes in history weren't measured only in numbers. They were measured in influence, kindness, and contribution. And that's what Jim wanted people to understand. The purpose of financial success is not to impress, but to express your values through what you give back. So start where you are, give what you can. It might be a small donation, a kind word, a few minutes of genuine listening. It doesn't have to be grand to be great. What matters is that you create movement, because every act of giving, no matter how small, sends a ripple that eventually finds its way back. In the end, the law of generosity is about alignment, aligning your wealth with your values, your earnings with your ethics, your success with your soul. That's where true fulfillment lies, because when you give, you don't lose anything, you multiply it. You multiply joy, purpose, and possibility. The secret to lasting wealth is simple: give more than you take. Serve more than you earn, and life will reward you in ways money alone never could.